In this captivating episode of Plant Based on Fire, join us as we dive deep into the world of plant based innovation with Eugene Wang, the visionary co founder and CEO of Sophie's BioNutrients. Discover how Eugene's rich heritage and a personal journey from aspiring computer engineer to plant based food pioneer led to the creation of the world's first allergen free, microalgae based dairy alternative. From the depths of family tradition to the cutting edge of food technology, Eugene shares his insights on the challenges and triumphs of introducing a plant-based seafood alternative to the market. Plus, let's get a sneak peek into the future as we discuss how Sophie's BioNutrients groundbreaking project is taking microalgae fermentation all the way to the International Space Station. Don't miss this inspiring story of passion, innovation, and the quest for sustainable foods that are not just good for us, but for the planet too. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Plant Based on Fire, where we talk about plant-based businesses and their inspiring stories to thrive in the industry. I'm your host, Bryan, and joining us today is Eugene Wang. He is the co-founder and CEO of Sophie's BioNutrients, a company that grows microalgae in bioreactors and created the world's first allergen-free microalgae-based dairy alternative, and a whole bunch of more stuff that I want to talk about with you, Eugene. Thank you for being here and joining us on the show.
Thank you for inviting me as well, Bryan.
I am so excited to talk to you, and I want to dive into some of the seafood angles and the dairy and seaweed stuff. But let's just help set the stage for the entrepreneurs and the business owners that are watching this show. What sort of inspired you to enter into the plant-based food industry, and how did your upbringing and stuff influence your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I pretty much spent my whole career making plant meat, so to speak. First started with my family. I was born and grew up in Taiwan, by the way. My family being fourth generation Buddhism. And because of that, starting from my grandma and grandpa making vegetarian food as a street vendor, we've been making vegetarian food for about 3 generations, right?
That's awesome. I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I was in a way lucky in the sense, because of the industry. But
Yeah.
I started out. I want to become either a computer engineer or a Wall Street banker. I even went to Columbia to get an MBA degree. But I guess I saw my father, my auntie, my uncles doing that business. I found myself interested in it. So I quit all the job that I did before, and then I come back to the family. So spend a whole career making plant meat. I can tell you even down to the ingredient level what you need to make a plant-based burger. I spent 6
Awesome.
years in the factory. Now, working with the Asian family business, I don't know if you know, it sucks. Seniority is important. So until all your
Yes.
uncles, auntie, your parents pass away, move on, you can't get to make any decision. So that's why when I realized that my daughter Sophie has this allergic reaction to the shrimp, I used that as an inspiration and then started my first venture back in California, back in 2010.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we're selling plant-based seafood in between 2010 and 2019 before I sold the business. We got a lot of questions from the consumers, because people are eating seafood first and foremost, not just for the pleasure. It's mostly for nutrition, health. So that's why I then turned my attention to look for that silver bullet to make a perfect seafood alternative. And that's how I stumbled on this microalgae opportunity. And we then find out the best way to grow it for food is actually using dark, closed fermentation process. And that's how Sophie's BioNutrients later on become what it is today. That's a kind of a short answer for my 20-some years of journey, but I'll leave the rest to the question that you may ask, or I can come up later. Yeah.
Well, I think that does a great job sort of setting the stage on the journey and your expertise. And you have not been doing this for a year or two. You've been doing this your whole life, which just sets the stage that you're the expert in this by far. And I hope to learn a few more things from you. What do you sort of see as, what were some of the biggest challenges introducing plant-based seafood alternatives to the market?
that there are tons of challenges,
Yeah.
and I believe the entrepreneurs who are just launching their plant-based seafood businesses will see that or already are seeing that. Right? First and
Hmm.
foremost, like I said, people are eating seafood no matter where you are in the world today. People have this idea that seafood is very healthy. Those who are eating seafood, like I said, they're not eating it just for the mouthfeel, the pleasure.
Yeah.
They're eating it for the omega-3, for the
Yeah.
full complete essential amino acid profile,
Yeah.
even for tiny minerals that you're not able to get easily from terrestrial animals. And,
Hmm.
and, and so that's why when you talk about plant-based seafood for non-vegans, non-vegetarians, it becomes like, why do I have to eat it?
Right.
Worse yet, we feel the animal slaughtering is associated with the animal mercy. And so that's why, some animal activists are really against the idea of eating animals. And that kind of affects some mundane Jane Doe and John Doe. But then when it
Yeah.
comes to seafood, people have this theory like fish don't feel, you
Right.
know? And, and,
Hmm.
and so they're like, eating it is not a problem. You don't feel like you're slaughtering it alive. And
Right.
so that's why seafood is so important to a lot of people's diet and protein intake. So, how to convince consumers to eat plant-based seafood, especially the regular consumer? I'm not talking about vegans and vegetarians.
Yeah.
That is a 64 million question, or possibly 64 billion question. Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
But it's like I do think it comes back to having to educate the planet. Like I've been, vegan for about 13, 14 years now. And so like I remember before I went on an Alaska cruise and caught some salmon on the fishing boat, and you pull them out of the water and you hit them with a baseball bat.
Yeah,
And you don't kill them that quickly. Like they're still flopping around in the bucket kind of a thing. Like you just the violence of just pulling in the 10 fish that we caught that day. But then like just last week I did a podcast with the Rim and Eat Plants show, and we ran like the little animal kill counter for the 60 minutes that we recorded it. And in that 60 minutes there were almost 10 million marine animals killed just
wow,
in 60 minutes. Like people don't realize how much we are just pulling every single piece of life out of the ocean. And that
overfish.
is what sustains most of the planet. And so if you're pulling 10 million animals, sea creatures out of the ocean every hour, like you have to understand the scale of how bad the problem is and how we have got to find some alternatives that still give you those omega-3s and the taste and everything else that you want out of the seafood. So I applaud your efforts here. And I'm just curious, like I want to get into some of the more current topics, but like what you what led you like you were successful with Sophie's Kitchen to a degree, and that helped you start Sophie's BioNutrients, right? And how do those two sort of complement each other?
Well, I guess the knowledge about protein, especially, or the experiences about how consumers want their protein. Now, Sophie's Kitchen is a B2C company. Sophie's BioNutrient is a B2B company. So they're playing in different fields. But more importantly, I would say that the 10 years of B2C business management gave me the wonderful opportunity to talk to consumers firsthand. I,
Hmm.
I talk to a lot of people, not just in the States, but also throughout the world, who are interested in our products. And I would constantly ask them, why are you interested? What are you looking for? And what matters to you when you're choosing product like this? And so that's why I have the first hand data or knowledge about why people choose, especially comes to protein, why people choose certain proteins versus the other.
Yeah.
Give you one example is that there are quite a lot of people like my daughter Sophie who are hoping to get the nutrition from the seafood, but they're
Hmm.
allergic to it. You know,
Yeah.
an allergy is really a very popular problems when digesting protein for people. Because talking about protein, you got the issues with allergens from seafood, from even
Yeah.
cow milk, from soy protein, even wheat gluten. So
Yep.
it's almost exists in every place, not just in the animal protein, not just in the seafood, not just in the plant-based protein. It's like all kinds of protein you will run into allergen issue. But
Yeah.
protein, a lot of people today know that protein is so important in your diet. And especially thanks to the pharmaceutical industry and the medical services that we have, people are living longer. And when you age, you even need more quality protein. And that's why this business, this technology becomes so interesting, is that
Hmm.
I can pretty much say maybe people are eating less fat, people are eating less carb, people are eating less fiber, but they're definitely not eating less protein.
That is for
Yeah.
sure.
And so
Yeah.
how to solve that problem really
Yeah.
is what we're working at. And that makes my life more meaningful and more interesting.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I think especially the standard American diet, we're getting a little too much protein and far too little fiber. So eat more kale, people. But at the same time, like, I think you hit on two really interesting points with that last comment. And number one is I cannot underscore for the businesses that I coach and help guide through this. Customer discovery is number one. Like you have got to really do really strong customer discovery. And it sounds like that B2C really set the stage for the next iteration of your vision here. And then the second thing is the niches are the riches. And like if you say the word vegan, like it builds that weird connotation with the standard people kind of thing. And so like if you go after allergens, whether it's gluten or seafood or whatever, like there is money to be made for the people that have realized. And I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I can tell you, I think today is day one of allergy season here because I can
Oh,
feel it today. And
okay.
so, how do you help me with my diet to offset just seasonal allergies for the spring flowers blooming and stuff? So I guess help educate the people that are watching the show on what the process is and the benefits of using microalgae as a base for food products and just help, unpack that a little bit for us.
So the first thing about why choosing microalgae, I think I need to address that, is that um, I'll come back to why microorganism based protein is more sustainable and more
Hmm.
nutritious in a minute. But the key thing about microalgae is that compared to other microorganisms, so the other microorganisms I'm talking about are including bacteria, which is so mostly represented by E. coli,
Hmm.
yeast. There are a lot of different kind of yeast that we're using in the industry already, and
Hmm.
then fungi or mycelium. Now,
Yep.
in the U.S. and Canada, a lot of people have a lot of negative connotation about fungi, mycelium, mushroom, that type of thing. They're very scary to that.
Yes.
So fungi, mycelium is actually a wonderful microbe to grow a lot of different kind of food ingredients, but just that the consumer perception, especially in North America, is not that positive. Now,
Hmm.
the other bacteria or E. coli, I don't have to explain, and you know why a lot of people and even the governments are not easy to make that as food ingredients in the future. It's possible,
Right.
but it's not easy. You know.
Yep.
Then comes to the yeast. Now, compare yeast to microalgae. We really feel that microalgae had packed a lot more nutrition
Hmm.
than yeast. So think about that, is that you can easily get omega-3 fatty acids from microalgae. You can easily get chlorophyll. You can easily get iron. You can easily get vitamin B. A lot of
Yeah.
these nutrients are not so easily found on most of the yeast. And so that's why. And another example is that when you go into any supplement stores or you Amazon the supplement section, you will see that there are a lot more varieties of microalgae products to choose from versus the yeast. And
Hmm.
that tells you that consumer perception about the nutrition from microalgae is a lot more positive. And
Yes.
indeed, you can actually get more nutrients from microalgae than yeast strain as well.
Hmm.
And so
Yep.
that's why we chose microalgae. Now, the second thing we do differently is the fact that we use dark fermentation to grow it. Now, reason being that, traditional way of growing microalgae, I don't know if you know, they mostly grow it in the outdoor open pond.
Okay.
Now, that's a bit, contamination is an issue. On
Mm-hmm.
top of that, the production efficiency is very low. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of the supplement grade microalgae powder are so expensive. Now,
Okay.
growing them in a dark fermentation tank, you can imagine that we can keep out all the contamination, meaning keep out all the other bad microbes, especially bacteria, and then make our powder protein flour has higher purity. Better
Mm-hmm.
yet, using the dark fermentation method to grow it, it has higher production yield, meaning we potentially in the future can get our costs down to possibly we're working on it under $1 per kilo. Now think
Wow.
about that. If we
Yeah.
can get our protein under $1 per kilo, even the animal we're eating today can be fed by this wonderful microalgae protein flour. And
Mm-hmm.
the animals, there are some research papers done already. The fact that the animals who are eating soy versus animals who are eating microalgae, number one, their FAR are a lot less, so less
Yes.
greenhouse gas, and also their nutrients in the meat is a lot more dense. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why we think this is a wonderful protein that we should bring to the world.
Absolutely. And so, just because I've just finished watching, like, I think it was the twins, what the health or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
those
the Netflix
couple ones
documentary.
are, and
Right,
they had the little segment on the salmon farming and all
right,
that kind of stuff. So like
right.
the environmental side of this has to be taken into consideration. So how
Totally.
does both like Sophie's Kitchen and Sophie's BioNutrients contribute to the environmental and the sustainability side of this as well?
Talking about seafood, the biggest issue with seafood, uh, unlike the animal farming on land, is the fact that people usually don't see the level of problem in the ocean.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
started all this, including Sophie's Kitchen and Sophie's by Nutrient. I always tell people it was because of my daughter Sophie. It was actually started out with my first scuba lesson that I did almost 20 years ago.
Hmm.
There's a patch of ocean that my father used to take me there when I was a little kid, and it was full of jellyfishes and a lot of wonderful sea animals. And
Yeah.
then almost 20 years later, oh, actually 30 years later, I took my little Sophie over there. It was dead. It was
Wow.
full of trapped plastic, no jellyfish. I even see a
Hmm.
chicken bone on the ocean floor. I was
Ugh.
wondering how the hell that chicken bone got ended up in the ocean floor. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so we're doing so much damage to the ocean that the seafood supply is really in danger and really having a heck of a problem. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't see the heavy metal issue. A lot of people don't see the microplastic issue. These are all created by a lot of human beings.
Hmm.
Now, so that's why I think, using the new technology to address these issues can help people to stay away from consuming too much of the traditional animal protein that we have.
Hmm.
And then by doing so, we hope to alleviate some of that problem.
Absolutely. That's yeah. I don't know. There's so many documentaries. Yeah, I think people have to watch if they haven't seen them to talk about the ocean and stuff.
All right, if you've ever wanted to show off your plant-based lifestyle and do it in style, here's your chance. We have some of the most amazing t-shirts, hats, accessories, coffee mugs, and more at shop.realmeneatplants.com. We have statement t-shirts that will bring a smile to everyone's face. I love the I want tofu tonight tee. Plus, we have podcast tees, Real Women Eat Plants gear, Real Kids Eat Plants, and Real People Eat Plants, just in case men, women, and kids didn't cover it all. Yeah, we love you and love that you want to show off that healthy lifestyle of yours. Again, check out our high-quality gear at shop.realmeneatplants.com and enjoy.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the technology. That's my favorite thing as a
Right.
CTO in the past and stuff myself. How does technology help you take this awesome product that you're doing and help you scale up the production of microalgae? Like, how are you leveraging technology in your day to day?
Yeah. So I think especially after COVID, a lot of people saw how biotech is help improving our life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because with more people on the planet Earth, and then more more traveling we're doing today, the world has more issues. And biotech industry in the last decades or so has been really mature and developed. On top of that, the connectivity that we have with the mobile phone in our hand, the social media,
Mm-hmm.
also really help a lot of positive information to flow to different people, and that makes people understand why we're doing what we're doing. Last but not least, it possibly is a little bit mundane, but I want to get back to AI still.
Yeah.
AI
It's going
even
to
help
change the
our job.
world.
It is
Yeah.
changing the world, man. I have to say,
Mm-hmm.
um, AI even help our work. AI help us nail down the strain, the species that we need to work on, the DNA
Wow.
that we need to pay attention to, even.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps us identify the right strain, right species, or right type of microalgae to work with. Because
Yeah.
customers, manufacturers, and even consumers, they have their expectations, and how to match that expectations with the biomaterials that we have. If you don't
Yeah.
have the technology, oh man, it's gonna take you, if not 10 years, a good 3 to 5 years. Now,
Yeah.
with the technology at our disposal, we can make that happen within a few months or even weeks. That shorten the time to the market. And that
Yeah.
really is phenomenal, I have to say. And that's why we're seeing so many innovations coming up, not just in the food space, pretty much in all landscape, all industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I was watching some documentary, I think, where they take the samples and they cycle through them every single day, but then they freeze them and they can go back and re-pick where did this strain start and how to do it. So yeah, I can imagine AI playing a huge role to digest that data set. So exciting. So, but I have to say, you've gotten some industry accolades, I believe, right? How has like PepsiCo and Chipotle impacted your ventures?
Oh, that's an interesting question, Brian. So we joined PepsiCo and Chipotle accelerator programs back in 20, I believe that was 2018 and 19.
Hmm.
Um, it was eye-opening for me. We get to network a lot of wonderful professional managers
Hmm.
working within PepsiCo's and Chipotle. So you get to understand the inner working, because I never spent a day in a big multinational
Corporate.
corporate like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So luckily I did not, and so that's why my mind is like wide open, and I don't afraid of anything where I should be
Yeah.
afraid of.
Yeah. Exactly.
and but these people, they have their professionalism, and that really helped me understand different aspects running food business. You know,
Yeah.
their considerations, their professionalism is on a whole different level. And of course,
Hmm.
that couldn't be possible with a lot of teamwork. That's why, you get to see a lot of people working on different side of the food business, which you never
Hmm.
think of before. Because as a family business, as an entrepreneur, you're pretty the one who is doing everything.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
the CEO. You're also the guy who take out the trash, right? so
That's right. That's right.
so that's entrepreneurs. We all the audience, a lot of your audience are entrepreneurs, so they understand that. But then again, it is interesting to see when you fixated people on certain job, the depth of the knowledge is just mind blowing. Now,
Yes.
here's the interesting fact I want to share with your audience is that to understand the breadth of their knowledge makes you feel, you meaning like me, entrepreneurs, makes
Hmm.
you feel that you are needed and you are unique. Now, here
Yeah.
is the distinctions. Those so-called professionals and academic researchers, their
Yeah.
depth of knowledge is like so deep. You ask them about protein, wow, they're not only able to tell you what the structure should be looking like, what are the uniqueness about each amino acid, profile,
Right. Yeah.
which I cannot answer. But then
Right.
again, here is what we entrepreneurs can come in and help is that because they're building their knowledge so deep, they're almost putting a wall next to their eyes, a blind
Mm-hmm.
next to their eyes. They don't see anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Where we entrepreneurs, we're shallow in
Everywhere.
most of the knowledge,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but we
Right.
have the width, the breadth to take a look at the surrounding, and then say, hey, if we connect dot A with dot B, I can come up with new product C. Or,
Yep.
hey, why dot A have to go all the way through a circle to get to dot D? Why not
Yeah.
just go straight? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those professionals, they don't see it because they're so diving to their own field. And this is why with the connectivity, the technologies and everything we have today, entrepreneurs are even more needed than just 20, 30 years.
Yeah. Well, entrepreneurship has taken a strong decline in the United States for the past 30
Oh,
years. So we do need more and more entrepreneurs to get out there and start getting those ideas. And you brought up another really interesting point. Like, I think you should watch this video. Everything is a remix. And it's true because as an entrepreneur, our job is to take all these proven technologies and mash them together in a new combination that some people haven't thought of before. And I think that's half the battle of what you're doing and the research you're doing. You need those experts that can go deep, but your job is to help blend them together and find new markets. And you've definitely been successful. Congrats on your successes with some of those big players in the industry. A couple more questions as we kind of wrap up here. What do you see as some of the big challenges facing the food tech industry? Because I think just this past week, New Wave Foods and their shrimp alternative went just closed up shop and stuff. So it's really interesting to sort of see how the seafood alternative and stuff. What do you sort of see as that food tech industry expert?
yeah, it's really sad to see New Wave went out of business. They've
Yeah.
been there with us since we started Sophie's Kitchen as well.
I just tried them for the first time like 2
Oh.
weeks ago, and
Wow.
I thought like, man, yeah, it's not something I see in my grocery store every day. But I was at a really fancy restaurant and got to try them. I'm like, I missed the seafood flavor-ish
Right.
that New Wave brought to the table. So disappointing. 2 weeks later, they go out of business.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I think that has to do, in Europe they talked a lot about that a lot. I don't know if we talked a lot about that in US now. Is the Death Valley.
yeah.
So a lot of the entrepreneurs, they get the first funding, but before you go to the real commercial success, there is a Death Valley you have to cross, and a lot of startups just failed.
Yeah.
In this part. Now,
Yep.
the Death Valley, according to some of the Europeans, are because of the fact that a lot of the investors, especially private investors, they're not. Maybe you can say that they don't really know what's lying ahead, so they have a lot of fear. So fear of missing out, they're only betting their money on certain entrepreneurs who have successfully getting money from other VCs. And then that becomes like, if you have a wonderful idea, which guaranteed to be successful, you got to have a celebrity VC to be with you in order to attract money. Because no matter how good your ideas are, VCs are not going to bet just on your ideas,
Yep.
And so I think the issue is, entrepreneurs, a lot of it are in your audience, is that, we all know that money is the critical issue. But when we talk about money, it's the communication that is really difficult.
Yeah.
One problem is that, like, the technology we're working on is so far ahead or so advanced to a lot of people. Not even the VCs, even the visionary one or the ones who are dealing with new technology every day, possibly not even a lot of these people can understand. Then how can you communicate that ideas effectively to people and let them see the future? This is another $64 billion question I don't have answer with. But I know if you can crack that issue, you can get the money. And everyone has their different style in getting people to know.
And it's that thing of like you're so far advanced, you have to spend half the time educating the VCs on what it is you do and why it's different, why it's unique. And then I think it's I've been telling some of the startups that I mentor, you're just in this weird perfect space. The interest rates are too high. It's an election year. They're pulling back their funding. They want to invest in proven commodities, not riskier commodities. So it's tough on all fronts. So I almost say you have to go back to the farmers markets or wherever and grassroots and grow to a stable point and use your cash that you're generating to fund your business right now, unless you get lucky and get that right introduction. I think 9 out of 10 businesses aren't successful in raising that money. So they have to figure out, how do I get through that first 5 years of business and thread through that valley of death, like you were saying. So that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that insight. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs in the plant-based and food sectors? I know we talked about a few things here just now, but like, what's that one key piece of advice that you've learned, maybe the hard way or something on your journey, that you can help new people getting started?
I will say, don't do it for money, because I saw a lot of people jumping in because there's easy money to grab. Or they see a huge profit in the future. I say don't do that. I say do it for your passion. If you really feel passionate about plant-based foods, then come join in. If you're not, you just jump in because you see the opportunity there. I think you're in the wrong boat. You're gonna regret, because this is not easy. This is hard work. There will be a lot of hardship that you have to endure. And how can you get through those hardships? Passion is the only thing that's gonna support you. And for the people who supporting you, they also need to see your passion as well. Because if you don't show the passion to them, how and why are they gonna support a person who don't even believe, who didn't even believe his own thing or her own thing?
Yeah.
So
it's interesting too, because like we talked about that the valley of death that you have to go through, and if you're chasing the money, you're going to burn out at 18 to 24 months because your passion's going to run out. But if you're passionate, like I feel like you and I are just having this conversation, like my passion will last for 20, 30 years on this topic. Like I don't see it waning. So I know I can get through that valley of death kind of thing. So it's just been a pleasure talking with you. As we wrap up, like what are the next big steps for Sophie's BioNutrients? What innovations can we expect, or what's coming soon?
So we're taking our project to the space. We're taking our microalgae fermentation project onto the International Space Station with European Space Agency. So the purpose is that, thank you. So the purpose is twofold, but most importantly is for the people on Earth. We're trying to find more ways to cost our process down. So we're trying to find more parameters that we can reduce our production cost through the microgravity condition, which is hard to replicate on Earth. And that's one thing. The other thing definitely is that potentially the project can be extended into a protein production system and part of the life supporting system for the future astronauts who want to journey multiple years to another planet or want to settle on Moon or on Mars. We're thinking of designing a system, a sustainable system, self-sustaining system that you can grow our protein even on the Martian surface. And that could be a very exciting work and news for the fellow food industry entrepreneurs.
That is amazing. I did not think starting this conversation with you that we would wind up talking about Mars. And I just had this vision of the Sophie BioNutrients sign on the moon. Come check out our huge farm where we're growing all this cool, awesome algae. So I hope in 30 years I see your sign on the moon commercials when I land on the moon myself. Right. So that is awesome. Congratulations on that. That sounds like a really cool win, getting to say our product's been to space and, all that all the stuff that goes along with that. How can we, as a community, help you? We've got a bunch of people watching this episode that want to support plant-based initiatives and stuff. So what can the community do to help? And what are the best ways to get in touch with you and Sophie's BioNutrients?
Well, the best way to help us is actually to help everyone in the plant-based food industry, is trying to educate people the benefits of plant-based diet. And I still have a lot of people, even my own relatives around, who are not
Same here.
eating. Yeah, exactly. And so I think I'm not asking everyone to become vegans or vegetarian. No, I'm not doing that. I believe there will always be some people who are still gonna eat animal food or seafood. But then again, if everyone start to eat a little bit more plant-based food, our world will become much easier and much better. So that's why you can start, I believe, by convincing people to do a Green Monday or Green Friday or whatever day you want, and try to make people convinced that this is actually a better route, not just for the world, for the earth, but also for your body. Now, if you want to find me, want to talk to me, the best way to reach out to me is on LinkedIn. I use LinkedIn a lot. I don't use other social media. So go to LinkedIn, you Google Eugene Wang, EUGENEWANG, and then Sophie's BioNutrient or Eugene Sophie, it possibly should pop up.
Yep.
Yep.
I think that's how we got connected. So thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. So go check out Eugene on LinkedIn, check out Sophie's BioNutrients, and help drive his product and his business forward. Eugene, we really, really appreciate you jumping in here and talking to us about this awesome topic. That's all the time we have for this episode of Plant-Based on Fire. Again, I'm your host, Bryan, and we really appreciate your insights and all the experiences that you share with us, Eugene. Until next time, everybody, keep that fire burning.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Plant-Based on Fire. We hope you enjoyed learning about the innovative plant-based businesses we featured today and got inspired to support them on their journey. Remember, plant-based eating isn't just a trend. It's a way of life that benefits your health, the environment, and animals. By choosing plant-based foods, you're making a positive impact on the world and helping to create a better and more compassionate future. If you want to join the Real Men Eat Plants community and get even more resources to help you go and stay plant-based, check out our blog, podcasts, and 30-day challenge at realmeneatplants.com. Thank you for tuning in to Plant-Based on Fire, brought to you by Real Men Eat Plants. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us a review and let us know what you think of this episode. Don't forget to tag us at Plant-Based on Fire when you share this episode in your preferred social media. Wish to be a guest? We need to know about your plant-based business. Email us at pbof@realmeneatplants.com. We love hearing from our listeners. Thank you to our guests and to you, our listeners, for your support, and see you next time.